What's your take on people that build cars and that don't build cars? Is there any difference, or is one of them more of a car enthusiast than the other, or no?
I feel like you being able to work on a car, you being able to build a car, to an extent, yes, it makes you just a more seasoned car enthusiast.
They look at a car that is not done, it doesn't have the TEs, it doesn't have all the luxurious part, it has reps, things like that.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, man, I think it comes from a very ignorant person.
How do you feel about the respect all builds kind of conversations?
So respect all builds, right? Yeah. Automatically you start thinking about the ones that have a whole bunch of stickers, stock high, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I still respect them. It's your car, dude, do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. The whole respect all builds, I think people just want to be
part of it, part of the community.
Well, they want to be funny when they respect other people's cars. Why does it bother you that a car looks like that?
All right, welcome to the very first, what are we going to call this podcast here?
What is it, Influencers in the Wild?
Cars and Coffee. Cars and Coffee podcast, even though we just finished our coffee because we did another podcast, which will be in his channel, by the way, if you guys want to check it out as well. But
who's this guy? Introduce me.
Who are you?
Freaking host, man, the host.
Tell everybody.
This first video or what?
Tell everybody who you are, what you do.
My name is Gus. I run a channel called AutomotiveAnatomy. We've been at it for 5 years. I interview automotive builders. I've had the pleasure to interview Miguel twice already.
Yes, sir.
And hopefully maybe a third time with the DC5,
because
that's the one, that's a legit one. I didn't care about his DSMs. So, I know you guys are DSM people.
He's a big Honda guy, just so you guys know. So how did you get into Hondas, or what was the whole thing?
Well, I think growing up, when first and foremost, we didn't get our first family cars until my mom was 40.
Damn.
She started learning to drive at 35.
Yeah.
So single mom, and so like that was a big thing, right? We didn't have cars. My uncles in Mexico had cars, but it just always became a thing of like, when am I gonna get my first car?
Yeah.
And when I first, got my first car here, it was reliability over anything.
Yeah.
And so what's reliable? Honda, Toyota. And so I was like, I was 18. I was saving for my first car, my little bit of money. And Hondas was just like the natural thing. Fast and the Furious came out, and I was just like, man, there's something about it. And a couple of my buddies had Honda, so I like all type of cars. I was this close to buying a Mustang. I was this close to buying a Jetta. But I just kind of landed on a Honda Accord, my 95 Accord, and I've had it ever since 2010. And that's it, man. From there, like, the love has grown. Obviously, I still love Porsches. I love, the Eclipses of the world. I love those cars. Yeah. But I always heard they're not as reliable. Therefore, I kind of went over to the Honda side.
So did you consider a Mitsubishi at one point in your life? Or?
Dude, Evos were a thing. Eclipses were a thing. My cousin had a Talon.
A Talon,
yeah. And dude, I love that car. Like that was the first car that I think he lowered, and that was the first car that I was in a lower car. Yeah. He bought like very cheap sleeves, not even the coilovers, from eBay. I think for like 180, and man, we're like pop, pop, pop. But the thing looked sick. He was my cousin Jose has always been a big influence on me when it comes to the automotive world, and so he got a Talon. It was manual. And I think he put Mitsubishi 8 wheels on it or something like that. Yeah. Or 9. And dude, I was like, hell yeah, these cars are fun,
So it's kind of funny you say that, because I believe that everyone that's into this passion or hobby is because someone has influenced them at a younger age when they were kids. Do you feel like that's true, or do you feel like that's just...
I think if you don't have somebody that influences you, at least you grow and you start liking cars just because you like them.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if, some people are just kind of like passionate about something and you can't explain why. And so if you don't have that immediate, because, my family, we don't have any, I didn't have anybody who was huge into modifying cars.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. And so that's kind of when I started looking around the Lowrider magazine. I would go to the 7-Eleven. We didn't have money to buy magazines. So I would go, Kmart, I'll go to the 7-Elevens and just look at the magazines, man. I would just chill there for hours. I was young. I would just go and just hang out there and put the magazine back and like, oh man, that's cool. So as you're growing up, I think you get influenced by different things. And for me was the lowrider scene, and then after that, it was just seeing some of my brother's older friends who were into cars, and I was just infatuated with it. I was like, dude, this is cool. And so that's kind of how we ended up, with my own Honda Accord, and for the longest, I didn't. I was like, man, it's a Honda Accord. Nobody modifies them. Blah blah blah. I stumbled upon this forum, HondaSociety.com, and there's a whole bunch of us Accord dudes.
Yeah.
And that was like game over from there. Like I started just going to meets and things like that, and that was way back in 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
And fast forward now, it's like I love all type of cars, but like the Honda, it's always going to be that special place in my heart.
So I feel like we're on the same boat because I was the same way, but with Mitsubishi Eclipses. So I got my Eclipse, and then around like 2012 is when I kind of found like the forums and like the groups and like the SoCal DSM guys, and that's kind of when I got really involved. And even now today, it's like, yeah, I appreciate all builds. I like all types of cars, but at the end of the day, the DSM for me is like my foundation. It's like just like the Accord is to you, right? So I think there's always, do you think it's your first car that's always going to have like that like foundation for you as far as like what you prefer? Or
it's funny you say that because your name is Miguel DSM.
Yeah.
People have associated with the 3 diamonds, right?
Yeah.
The same thing with me. Like anything Accord related, my buddies are sure to send it to me. Like, hey, bro, here's one of your people. Like, nah, we don't claim that.
If I see a modified Accord, I immediately think of you because he's the only one I know that would modify an Accord.
But we love it, man. I love it.
They're cool because they're different. So let's talk about your Accord, like the wing, for example. We were talking about it earlier, how it's like a very rare ring that was made for the racing.
It's a racing heritage wing.
Yeah.
It's from the JTCC. Look up JTCC, BTCC. You quickly understand, like, it was the era of a big body kit, big wheels, no more than I think 250 horsepower, NA motors.
Yeah.
Like they're not fast cars, but they look so cool. They're slammed to the ground. They were tube chassis, so that way the wheel can have as much travel but still be slammed. So yeah, like I told Miguel, like if you don't know, you see him in the freeway, you're gonna be like, man, that guy's tacky. Like he's a ricer mod, and I'm okay with that because if you know, you know. So the Accord. It's aside from the Prelude, it's like the dark child of the Honda community because it's heavy, it's a family, it's not the Civic that is nimble and things like that. I love it. I love it because it's different. I love it because it's my first car. Going back to your original question, the thing is, I've heard so many people who always use the line, I regret selling my first car.
Yeah.
I didn't want that for me. So that car's been through multiple crashes, and thanks to like amazing friends like my buddy Juan who fixed my shock tower, and otherwise that car was not safe to drive. And then my other buddy Francisco Mata who rebuilt the car practically twice already. That's the reason why that car is still on the road.
So it's kind of funny because I'm the same way. So I stopped my Eclipse. My first car is one. It's gone through its own mishaps and like swaps, for example. So it was thanks to my friends that the car is where it's at today. Just like your friends helped you with yours. I think my friends, Lazy, Carlos, just a bunch of people that just came together to help me build that car are the reason why my car is here today. And I truly believe that, the friendships that I built because of the car is just, they're friendships that I feel like I'm going to have forever. And I appreciate my friends for that. But it's kind of funny you say that because at the end of the day, it's like, how do you feel about friends and the car scene? And how do you feel about, going over your buddy's house and helping them with the swap or helping install coilovers? Or how do you feel about all that?
Well, it's crazy because to this day, like, not having my own space at times, it's difficult. I would change axles. I'm not the most mechanical inclined person, so I think as far as I go, the hardest thing I've probably done is suspension, axles, alternators, things like that. But I would do them on the side of the road or on the street. Not having the garage kind of forces you, and now I'm very blessed with the following and with the friendships that I made over this journey of the channel. That I met like people like my friend Peter, who's always like, hey, bring it over to the garage, and he practically does all the work. I just supervise. But it's an amazing feeling to just be able to go and hang out with people, because I feel like that's when you get to BS and you get to learn from other people that are actually more skilled than you. And you get to work on a passion that it's cars. And so for me, just having those friendships now, it's incredible. That's kind of the reason why I started a YouTube channel. Was I didn't have friends in the automotive world, and I didn't know anything about cars. I still don't, but now I have friends, and so I already met my mission of the reason why I went into it. And so I think that's the fun part, getting to make swaps and things like that. I to this day haven't really been able to have that pleasure to swap a car. But I'm the visual learner. So you can give me the swap and give me a booklet, I'm not gonna be able to do it. But if you show me how to do it, I'm willing to get my hands dirty. But again, it goes back to not having the space and doing things in the side of the road or in the back alley. at least me personally, since I'm not that mechanically inclined, I wouldn't have the confidence to say, let me take out the motor and then let's put it back together.
And I had a similar experience with two of my buddies, Lazy and Carlos. They're the ones that helped me swap the car. And just like you, I'm more of a visual learner. So if you tell me how to do things, or you tell me use this tool to remove this bolt and then do that to take off this and then you can put this, that's kind of how I work best as far as working on cars, because just like you, I feel like I'm not too mechanically inclined. I wouldn't have been able to do...
Lies, I've seen your videos.
I would not have been able to do the Evo swap by myself, because the Eclipse to me was the car that showed me how to do everything. And I was alongside of my buddies that were helping me the whole way, and they were the ones that were doing most of the stuff. They knew how to do everything. I was learning from them. I was the one that was documenting everything, and I was like, okay, that goes there, this goes there, we're doing this, and I understood everything. And then back when I was editing, I was also like taking that information in again, and that's kind of how I gained my knowledge over time, enough to be able to do it with the other cars, right?
What's your take on people that build cars and that don't build cars? Is there any difference, or is one of them more of a car enthusiast than the other, or no?
So I always ask myself this question, because I always like to think of myself like, what category am I in, right? Because sometimes I feel like when it comes to being a car enthusiast, I don't think there's like a set definition on what defines you as one. You could be a kid that maybe doesn't even have his first car, but has, you know, the full collection of Hot Wheels, or, you know, has games like Need for Speed on his PlayStation. And then there's a seasoned veteran that has, you know, all these builds and he does everything himself, and he's just really smart with cars, right? So I don't think there's like a defining sentence, but it doesn't make you less or better than anybody else, if that makes sense. So to an extent, it's like, yeah, so for example, with me, it's like, there's guys out there that just know how to work on cars better than I can. Like if I sold someone my Eclipse and he was really good with it, he could probably fix it a lot better. He could make it faster, better, everything than I can. He's just a better builder overall. And there's guys that can't, right? So it's just, obviously there's levels.
Okay.
When it comes to like the mechanical aspect and wrench on, I don't consider myself at a very high level. It's something that I'm always willing to learn, and something I'm always willing to grow on, especially with, you know, the Mitsubishis. You know, they're very hands-on. And like you said, like I always have people that, you know, kind of guide me through the whole situation. Like last week, I had a couple buddies come on and help me with the 3000 GT. So as you interviewed it, you saw the engine bay, right? Really tight.
Horrible.
Yeah, really, really tight. My buddy Ian came on, and he's very knowledgeable with the platform. So I was learning, I was just picking up everything that he was saying, and how he was telling me what to do, and we're doing everything together. And like after that day, I felt like a sense of achievement, because I worked on the car, I learned a lot, and I kind of gained some clarity as far as like what issues the car has and what I need to do to fix it, right? So like I said, I think it comes down to each individual just putting themselves out there. If you work in the automotive industry, maybe you're just a mechanic in general, you're just gonna get that knowledge by second nature. But for me personally, I've never worked a job where I've had to work on cars, like ever. So to me,
that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, so to me, it's more of a passion, right? But I've had to learn it through friends, I've had to learn it through my builds, and no one really kind of was there to teach me at a young age. I never really had any sort of influence when it comes to working on cars or modifying cars. For me, it was mainly Need for Speed, like on my GameCube, growing up. Seeing movies, of course, and then my dad had an Eclipse, but he didn't modify it. He had an EF hatch as a daily. We called it like cucaracha because it was brown interior, brown exterior. And my grandpa used to drive us to church like every weekend, and then the Eclipse was more of like a every once in a while car.
Damn.
But I always grew more of an appreciation for the DSM over the EF hatch. So that's kind of where I go to like the Mitsubishi side, and that's kind of how I got into Mitsubishi's.
Well, Mitsubishi is so much more aggressive than the EF.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It looks so much better, you know, like in certain aspects. It looks more aggressive, more of a Turner car. Now, looking back, I'm more into boxy things, dude. So I'll take that EF. I'll take the cucaracha any day of the week, man.
I used to hate that thing, dude. I just thought it was ugly.
Oh, yeah?
It was just stock. It was a box. It was brown, and you had like the silver Eclipse that was sharp. It was turbo, and it made all these.
Well, that's funny that you say that, because that's the reason why I have so much respect for my buddies in the Honda community.
Yeah.
For many years. Now, no one, I mean, if anybody makes fun of Hondas, I just think that you're an uneducated, because there's so much more of the platform that has grown. It reminds me of, you know, there was a podcast where they were saying like, yeah, you spend $20,000 or $30,000 on a Civic, you should have just bought an M3, and the retail value would have been more, and you can resell it, blah, blah, blah. The resale value, sorry. And I'm thinking, well, you're missing the whole point. Because at some point, La Cucaracha, the EF hatch, nobody wanted. Now, there's a few of us, right, that we appreciate it. We actually, you know, really, really want those cars on the road. And like, I just interviewed one of these gentlemen, Jason. Beautiful EG, man. He spent numerous amounts of dollars to just have that EG be near perfection. Plus, And who's willing to do that? Someone who actually appreciates the platform and really, really wants the platform to continue and to set standards for themselves, not even for other people, but for themselves. And we appreciate them. There's no way, you know, that the Mitsubishi era doesn't grow without the Fast and the Furious. Now it continues to grow. Now there's not that many Evos because they were trash. And it's sad, but that's what people use them for, abused them and got rid of them.
The Eclipses, right?
Everything. Even the Evos, you know?
You think so?
Dude, they're so hard to find.
Oh yeah.
They're so hard to find because people, I've seen some Evos that I'm like, damn, like you really
let it go down that. Yeah.
But I think people, there's a number of people in the community that they're not in it to preserve something. They're just in it to use and abuse, and then on to the next one. On to the next one. And so that's why I started, you know, I really appreciate the Honda community because there's people out there with families, older people that are going back to those roots and say, I want to build that DA, that EF, that CD, whatever, EG, as if I had money in high school because this is the car that I saw.
I think as a car guy, we all go through that, right? Like eventually, at one point in our life, when we eventually have some sort of funds to be able to build our dream high school build, we kind of go through it. I mean, I feel like I feel like I'm not at that age yet, but I definitely see myself doing that with like a classic car or something eventually. Or what car would you do?
Porsche or what?
Probably, actually, yeah, that would be a cool build to do. Like I feel like the Porsche build would probably be like the thing is, like, I used to hate Porsches, and it wasn't until like later in, you know, my life that I started to like them, especially the old school ones. But yeah, I think a Porsche build would be something like, if I had the funds, I would be able to build at my pleasure without having to worry about, you know, making sure my bills are paid and then being able to build a car on the site type of thing, right?
So like the question is, what car would I build if the funds are not
for you. Yeah.
Man, I think that's the cool thing about this automotive thing, that you can do so many different things. I don't know. At this moment, I think if funds are not an issue, man, there's so many. But I think at the top of my head, I'm thinking the RWB Porsche. I really like it. I'm not a guy that is into like speed. I personally don't get amazed by, oh my God, 700 horsepower, two-step. I don't like that. I'm not that guy, right? And that's, you know, everybody has his own thing. I'm more of a guy that if the car looks good, it drives nice, even if it's not super fast, that to me, that's the legit thing. So I don't know, man, there's just so many cars that I would want to build. Yeah, the Porsche's out there for sure. I even see myself like in Accord, again, going back to the Accord thing, a full-on JTCC build, you know, K-Series, maybe supercharged, gutted cage, tube chassis.
Would you want to track it? It'd be perfect, dude.
Yeah, because that to me, that would be cool, you know? And even if I don't track it, like some people are like, well, why build all this and you're not gonna track it? Because I just want to drive it. You see that in the free, you know, in the 91, you know, the freeway, and
it's something else.
It's different, and it's like, that's my passion, you know, like a gutted Honda with the K-Series is just the tone of it.
So for you, someone that builds a car that looks like a track car but doesn't track, how do you feel about that?
Dude, I don't care.
You don't care? Okay.
Goes back to that. I'm a very open-minded individual. I really respect people's backgrounds, views, and things like that. And so if you build a car with the TEs, with triple R, you know, Pro, whatever, you know, all the whole shebang, and you don't take it to the track, me personally, it doesn't make you less of a builder or less of a car enthusiast. It just means that you want your car to look a certain way, and if your drive is from your house to the Cars and Coffee and back, and you wash it, and that's it. Use the other side, right? They look at a car that is not done, it doesn't have the TEs, it doesn't have all the luxurious part, it has reps, things like that. And I'm just thinking, man, I think it comes from a very ignorant person. One, I think it comes from a level of like, I'm better.
Superiority.
Superiority, right? Two, you don't understand those people's situations financially. You're gonna put down somebody who maybe doesn't have the most brand wheels or the best offset or whatever. It doesn't have the best fitment. You don't know their situation. You don't know if they're raising a family. You don't know what they're. Be happy that they're out here enjoying
part of the community.
They're enjoying the hobby, and I think that's where we lose. You know, where I have disagreements with certain people, where they think like, no. If you're gonna do this, it has to be this way or nothing. And I'm just like, I disagree with you.
How do you feel about the respect all builds kind of conversations?
So respect all builds, right? Automatically you start thinking about the ones that have a whole bunch of stickers, stock high, blah, blah, blah. I still respect them.
Really?
In their own way, they're expressing their enthusiasm for whether it's anime, whether it's cars, whatever it is. It is not up to me to decide what is clean and what is not. I think to me is more of a sensation of like, if it bothers you so much that somebody has modified a car a certain way, that's just more about you than them.
But why do you say that?
Because if you, like for instance, let's use your DC-5.
Yeah.
You like it, I like it, I think it looks cool. But if I say, hey man, like you should lower your car a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, there's always people that are gonna say something.
Right, hold on, that's where I'm going at.
Yeah.
Okay, it's up to you to decide whether you want to or not.
Yeah.
You have your reasons why you have your car like that. Hey bro, the wing doesn't look as good in this car. Even though it's OEM, it doesn't look good. It looks better wingless.
Yeah.
Right? Now I'm putting my opinions onto you.
Okay.
That's no different than if your car was super clean and I say, hey bro, like, you should probably change the color of it. Like, there's always gonna be a comment about something about someone else. I think to me on a personal level, it's your car, dude. Do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. The whole respect all bills, I think people just wanna be
part of it, part of the community.
Well, they wanna be funny when they respect other people's cars. Why does it bother you that a car looks like that?
I mean, me personally, how do I feel about it? I feel like I agree with you to a certain extent. But at the same time, I feel like those are the people that maybe just don't understand how to properly modify a car, or maybe like, I think those are the type of people that maybe.
But even then, right there, don't understand how to properly modify a car. That's your prerogative.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that that's true.
No, I mean, it doesn't, like, if I was to talk to that person, maybe he's like the coolest dude or coolest girl ever, and I don't know. But individually, I just find their taste in modifications for cars, like, not. And
can you imagine if we all had the same taste?
No.
Then it becomes a very boring community.
True that. But it's like AutoZone parts, like the AutoZone aisle, like
that's their budget.
You think it's based off budget? Or you think it's based off just maybe they just don't know where to find certain parts, or maybe they just don't have enough influence?
Everything, budget, delay gratification. They don't know how to do that.
Okay.
They don't know any better. They've never been introduced to anybody else. They don't want to save for more. They don't see the value of authentic, or they don't see the value of like doing the research.
Yeah. Okay.
That's your prerogative, though. Full transparency.
Yeah.
There's some cars I like more than others. 1,000%. You know, I'm like, damn, that looks clean. That one, it looks okay.
Yeah.
That's his style.
Yeah.
Because I've been there.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair for me that now that I have the funds, now that I have against the relationships with certain people, the know it to where to find parts. Yeah. Now I'm gonna be big time and say, oh, that car looks ugly. I was there too, man. Yeah. I was there. Yeah. So we all start from humble beginnings, and at least most of us remember where we started, and we're honest with it. It goes back with the Honda community. That's why I appreciate them so much, because everybody thinks, oh, they're cheap. Dude, there's very wealthy business people building these Hondas. Yeah. And you will never know. Yeah. Because they're building Hondas. And the dude driving that Porsche or the whatever, they're more broke than you and I. Yeah. Yeah. But in our eyes, oh man, they're successful. It's like, nah, man.
Do you think a car, does it give you like a certain like stigma, or just like how people perceive you? Like, for example, if you're driving a Ferrari versus driving a Honda, like, do you think people are going to perceive you, especially if you're modifying it, right? So if they see you in a modified Accord, they're going to perceive you a different way versus if you had like a modified Mitsubishi, for example, right?
I think sadly it's inevitable. Yeah. Like, it's going to happen. But I think it goes back to that where, when you, at least me, I've had the pleasure to interview different people, and most of the time we stick to cars. But there are times that we talk more personal stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, damn, like, this dude is building this car, but does this side, or does this like, whoa, like.
It throws you off, huh?
It throws me off. Yeah. So I've learned to, when I see a car, I look at the car for what the car is. I don't really look at now knowing what I know, I don't look at the builder and say, man, he's driving a Ferrari, he must be very, very wealthy. Sometimes they're really broke. Yeah. But they like that status, they like that brand, go for it. But now I look at some dudes driving Datsuns, and I'm like, man, those guys are probably really wealthy, especially with the money that you put into. Yeah. But I don't stop and think like, man, how much are they spend on their bill? No. Do I like the car? I appreciate it. And just enjoy it for what it is.
So speaking on that, let's talk about like social media, for example. When you see the guy with the nicely modified GTR on social media, like, especially with like the following and everything, how do you think people perceive you based off your social media handles and stuff like that? Like, especially with the cars you have.
Well, I have a whole bunch of junkers. I don't have a GTR. That's good. I've always said it. I'm just a dude holding a GoPro. Like, I don't know much about cars. I don't know much about anything. You know, even my videos are very edited, very extremely minimal, and it's done on purpose. I like very simplistic things. Like, that's how my whole simple life is. I think I would hope that people would understand that the ones that are jumping into the journey, the way I'm on camera, I'm off camera. Like, I'm not gonna, you know, turn off the camera and then be like, man, that car's whack, and then like go completely the other way of what I just said on camera.
Not being yourself, right?
Because I think what happens is people can see through people, right? So if I say, yeah, respect those bills, and then I turn off the camera and that car passes by and I make fun of it, you're gonna be looking at me like, huh.
Yeah, you catch it. Yeah.
Right. Be genuine.
Just be genuine.
Be genuine. And so for me, I would hope that people see that I'm just a genuine dude who's trying to interview people. I like stories. I like cars myself, and that's kind of the idea of it. I hope and I try very much to never come off as a know-it-all or you know, obviously we're all entitled to our opinion, but to be disrespectful to someone else who has less funding, who has, you know, less opportunities, because all those things are a legitimate thing. You know, people do have less opportunities or they have more responsibilities than others, and so somebody may have $8,000 to spend on TEs on their GTR. Someone else needs to pay for bills and a mortgage, and that's okay.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. But I do think that the effect of social media is kind of where it kind of puts people in a bad spot as far as like when they compare themselves to others, right? So and I think a lot of the younger kids too, they maybe they're not aware about what you're saying, because I completely understand and I completely agree with you, but they don't see it that way. These kids are, you know, they have their first job, they just got their first project, and then they're looking at the guy with the fully built, you know, car, and they're just like, wow, like how does he have that? And then they're put into that limelight where it's like, I don't know.
Well, there's a quote that I like that it says, you know, compare yourself. Well, comparison is not good. Yeah. Right. Comparison is a thief of joy. But compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today.
Okay.
Right. Because, man, that was 30 minutes, dude. Because you're gonna be late. I'm sorry. We'll say that text real quick. You know, I think this is a good spot to finish. But the idea is that everybody's in a different journey. Everybody's in a different phase in life, and only they know what they're going through. So to me, it's just a matter of enjoy where you're at, enjoy what you have. If right now you don't have the cleanest car, it's okay. Surround yourself with people that actually motivate you and help you and inspire you to get better, as opposed to people who are going to be more on the negative side of things. Because even if your car is completely clean and everything's super expensive, blah, 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 they're always going to have a comment to say. I think that's just more on the negativity of how they are, not necessarily.
It doesn't define you or the cars. I agree with that 100%. And just like you said, it's your journey. Everyone has their own time. Just because you see someone else with something doesn't mean that you're not going to get yours. So learn to delay the gratification, and that's it. Man,
it sucks that we ran out of time because obviously I want to be respectful of your time, but that's definitely a topic that we definitely need to talk about down the road, especially the social media, how it's affecting.
Like dedicate like a full episode, basically.
I don't know about full episode, but he goes to somewhere else.
All right, guys, where can they find you? Anything else you want to add?
Social media, Automotive Anatomy, YouTube, Automotive Anatomy. Feel free to join if you get some value. If you don't worry, don't subscribe.
Let us know what you guys think in the comment section below, and if we should keep bringing these back. So
keep doing it, but without Automotive Anatomy.
Like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.
Dun, dun, dun.